London because they don't live here.
This is true as well. I mean, I was on I don't want to say rival show, but I was on the Murray Renshaw, the Renshaw Report. Murray the Eye, he's
We're
fantastic.
all
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He said he was going to put me in the hot seat. I loved it. He asked me about non-resident voting on fiscal matters, and I told him, I said, no, you live in East Lyme, you own property in New London. I don't think you get a vote on New London fiscal referendums because you don't have to live with the consequences of it. You know, if you live here and you want to cut the education budget, fine, go vote for it. But you're going to live with what happens if the schools do worse. You want to cut the municipal budget, fine. But if we have to lay off police officers, it's your public safety that's going to be endangered by that. And it's your tax bill, so fine. That's where you live. You know, you can vote. But my responsibility as mayor of New London is to the people who live in New London first and last and all in between. If people do business here, we want to be friendly. If we have neighboring communities or institutions, we want to be a good neighbor. But the first responsibility of the mayor of New London is to the people of New London.
And with that, we have another phone call.
Okay.
Thanks for calling Thinking Green.
Hi, I'm the one that called regarding the taxes. I think New London has a lot to look at as far as how they spend their money and ways to cut their budgets that they're really, truly not doing. For instance, having one buying group for the school, for the city. There's money to be saved there because you can negotiate stronger powers as far as a purchasing group. Combining all the insurances, I think something needs to be done with the school system. So much money is put into it, but yet the test scores are so horrible. I refuse to put my child into the public school. What really bothers me, too, as a taxpayer, and my taxes being so high, I'm pretty much landlocked. Nobody really wants to buy homes in New London because, number one, the school system is horrible, and two, the taxes are very high. So that's another huge concern of mine. I could never get my money out of my home because I'm pretty much stuck here. Another thing is there's a lot of corrupt departments within New London. I've heard of people that have to do, what do they call it? When they get in trouble and they have to work off their time, where they're doing work for the people that work in that department versus doing work to clean up the city and do the work for the city. That's wasted man hours too. That's work that could be done for the city versus doing personal work at these people's homes. All sorts of things like that.
Well, I'm so glad you called. Yes, no, I'm so glad you called back in. This is great. I love this. I met last week with the finance director of the current finance director of the City of New London and saw a number of things like this with the insurance and everything else. And
some of this is starting to happen.
Yeah, it's starting to happen, but
very slow.
You know, if you get the strong mayor really behind it, it will happen. And you know, you raised a couple of points, caller. I'm sorry, I don't know your first names. I hate having to call you caller, but for the caller, corruption. Whether it be legal corruption or illegal corruption, can't be tolerated in any form. And a lot of the problem with a lot of municipal budgets is what they term waste and inefficiency. But really, it's some sort of collusive or corruptive influence by some interest group that wants something at the public expense. What I've committed to in the campaign is that one of the fortunate things about being new, not new to the community and not new to government in general, but new to New London politics and New London's business community, is that I have no connections to anybody. I mean, no one owes me anything. I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have people in mind for jobs. It would be a fair, open hiring process, a nonpartisan process for all these positions. I want good people doing a good job, and if people aren't doing that, well then, why did we get this strong mayor if not to move, you know, inefficient people out and get good people in? And I've made a commitment in my campaign that I don't accept any contributions from any city employees. I do not take any corporate money. I do not and will not appoint anyone to public office who gives me more than $100. And my immediate campaign staff, my campaign manager, who's also my treasurer, my deputy treasurer, and my web designer, that's our whole staff, none of them are seeking public employment and will not be appointed. So this is not a campaign like I saw in Providence where, you know, if you wanted to move up in the police department, your family had to buy a table at the mayor's fundraiser. If I'm the mayor of New London, nothing like that is going to happen here. So just having a chief executive with this kind of authority who's truly committed to open, honest government, who's not part of any of those interest groups, it could be the magic bullet to, you know, accomplish a lot of these things that I would be open to. And I heard some good ideas from the finance director, I heard some good ideas from the caller, and we'll consider every good idea because, yeah, we know taxes are too high. But to get them down, you know, we're going to have to do a lot of work. But there are a lot of other things that can affect that budget. You know, you mentioned the 55% of the property being off the tax rolls. 55 approximately % of our budget comes from state aid. Well, anybody who watched Mr. Malloy's inauguration or have seen the early, you know, leanings of the legislature, New London may not be able to count on the same amount of dollars coming
And frankly, that would be a blessing in the long run for us to not need that.
To not rely upon it, but in the short run, I mean, if I'm elected in November, you know, I could be taking office in December with a very significant budget deficit. So when you talk about tax relief, you have to be honest to say, look, yeah, if we continue to get the same amount of state aid, or if that state aid goes up, well, then maybe tax relief's possible, but at what cost, etc. But even if we do these efficiencies and we save millions of dollars from the city budget, we could get a reduction in state aid that eats all of that savings up. We're still going to do it. I mean, one of the things I'm committed to is that I won't put a single dollar into a budget I prepare if I can't justify where that dollar's being spent. When it comes to contract negotiations, the mayor's going to be responsible for negotiating all these city contracts. I've said that we should do what I advocated for and what we did when I was on the town council in Westerly, which is bring in independent outside contract negotiators to negotiate that contract, to remove politics from the process and create a more economically efficient contract. It's fair to the union, it's fair to the taxpayer. That was done in Westerly. The union unanimously ratified it, etc. So, you know, there's a lot of these things that we can do, and certainly I'm open-minded to doing them and maintaining a corruption-free administration. Okay,
well, thank you. And we have another phone call.
Oh, okay, great.
So, I'm sorry, caller, I will, line one caller, I'm going to cut you off, and we'll hear from someone else. Thanks for calling. No, maybe not.
There we go.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Ronna, this is Dennis from New London.
Hi, Dennis.
I have a question for Daryl.
Great.
Now, we have organizations as far as the hospital, the Coast Guard, the colleges, 2 of them to be exact, that I'm aware of. Maybe there's another one. And these are all nonprofit organizations. And if I'm not wrong, that excludes them from paying taxes. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so why do I always see how, like, Connecticut College, the hospital, they're making money? So if they're making money, doesn't that exclude them from being nonprofit, or am I missing something here?
No, well, nonprofit is kind of a misnomer. It's a bad name. What it means is not for private profit. It's a federal tax code 501c3. And what it classifies is that the people who own the place, the board of directors, can't take their annual profits and give themselves a dividend. There are no stockholders. And these organizations usually serve some charitable or educational purpose. So to encourage these organizations, you know, they created not-for-profit, not-for-personal profit status. But these companies do produce a profit,
and some of them are very wealthy.
Some of them are extremely wealthy. And I think that at the federal level on down, maybe the tax structure should be reconsidered where they're not tax exempt, but they get a lower tax rate.